Finding the surface area of a cylinder. I have a cylinder here, and I'm looking at it and I was thinking, wow, that could be used to hold some other things, but I don't want it to look like the Clorox container. So I decided I think I need to paint it. But how much paint is needed to cover this cylinder? I need to thinking about, okay, well I can see that it is 8.5 inches tall. Here it is, 8.5 inches. That's the height of my cylinder. And I can see that I have a net of the cylinder. I'm drawing out a picture, and net looks like this, and that's the flat. If I take that cylinder and I flatten it out, and the top circle I draw here, and then this rectangle is as if it's that label that wraps around, or the side surface. It's called the lateral surface. That's the lateral surface of the cylinder. And that lateral surface of the cylinder is a rectangle shape. And then I also have another circle. And both this circle and the other circle are exactly the same shape and size, so they are congruent. Now, in order to find my surface area, I need to find the area of all the individual parts of this cylinder. So I have a circle up here, and I remember that the area of a circle formula is pi r squared. So I'm going to need the radius of a circle. And I'm going to need to find it for not only the circle at the top, but I need to find pi r squared, or the area of the circle for the bottom of the container. I also need to find the area of my lateral surface, or my rectangle that goes around. And I remember my formula for the area of a rectangle is length times width, or base times height. And I remember as I was measuring that the height of my Clorox container was 8.5 inches. That's how tall it was. And then I have this interesting surface here, this side surface, side, and how long would that be? Well, when I deconstructed my cylinder and opened the top and put it up here, and then opened the bottom and pulled it down there, and then as I unwrapped, cut around the top and I unwrapped, I found that that lateral surface is actually a rectangle. So, and that lateral surface actually wraps around the circle. So this side of the rectangle is going to be equal to the circumference of a circle, which is pi times diameter. And this 8.5 inches over here is the height. So I have one side that's pi times diameter, one side that's height. So I can find my surface area of a circle if I add up all my parts, which is pi r squared for the top circle. This is my surface area of a cylinder, not a circle, I'm sorry. Pi r squared for the top circle, pi r squared for the bottom circle, and then pi diameter times the height for that lateral rectangle that goes around the circle. So I'm going to use that formula. I'm actually going to find the surface area of my container. And again, my height, here's a close-up you could see, here's my ruler, there's the 7, the 8's actually right in here. So I'm right at 8.5 inches tall. My diameter, I can measure, my diameter across the top is actually 4 inches across. So I now have my individual parts, so I have my surface area formula, which is pi r squared plus pi r squared plus pi times diameter times height. And my radius, again, my diameter is equal to 4, so that means my radius is equal to 2. So I'm going to plug in my numbers in my formula. I've got pi times 2 squared, that's my radius squared, and I do that again, pi times 2 squared, and then I've got my pi, my diameter over here is 4, pi times 4, and then my height, remember, was 8.5 inches. I'm going to use 8 5/10 over here for that. So I've got all of my different parts, and I'm going to add them each together. So my first circle, 2 squared, that's a 4 pi, plus 4 more pi, 2 squared. 4 times 8.5 is 34, so I've got 34 pi there. So I can take 4 pi, 4 more pi, and 34 pi, and that's going to be 42 pi for my surface area of my cylinder, and that's 42 if I want actual approximate numbers if I want to know like square inches, because I very rarely see any measurements on paint cans of relating to pi. So 42 times 3.14, I can approximate my surface area of this cylinder. It's 131 and 88 tenths inches squared. So if I want to paint this cylinder, oops, just a second, sorry about that. I want to paint this cylinder. Again, I want to, it's got a height of 8.5, a diameter of 4. So my formula, pi r squared plus pi r squared plus pi times diameter times height for my surface area of a cylinder. Plug in all my numbers, 131 and 88 hundredths inches squared. Now I'm wacky enough that I'm going to paint these darn things. I'm going to collect a bunch of them because I think they'll be great containers to put things in. Colors that I was thinking about was maybe black and red, and then I can have them be the cougar colors. So I'm going to need to go buy some paint, depending on how many I have. But I know that I need 131 and 88 hundredths square inches of paint to cover each of those containers. That's how you find the surface area of a cylinder.